by aggressively paying them down, I'm losing ROI, but I'm achieving my goal of financial freedom a lot quicker. I can retire and have $10,755 per month in rental income. I really want to achieve that financial freedom and live a more fulfilling life as well.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association, providing benefits and services to real estate investors and rental property owners for over 48 years. With your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group.
This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. Hello and welcome to episode 226. Do you know what your financial freedom number is? The answer is the amount of passive income you'd need to receive in order to cover all of your expenses and replace your job income. When you ask most people what their financial freedom number is, the most common answer is $10,000 a month in passive income. Well, today we're going to talk to someone who has achieved that number. Ryan Chaw is a single-family home investor who has managed to create a six-figure rental portfolio in California, where most houses are overpriced and cash flow is limited. Today, he's going to share a strategy for managing 4 single-family homes himself while still working his full-time job. We're also going to discuss important tips on preventing high-cost emergency repairs, along with Ryan's system on super targeted marketing. Ryan, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Brian? I'm honored to be on the show.
You have a very interesting occupation. Tell us a little bit about that, and how did you go from doing what you're doing today to real estate?
Yeah, I'm actually a pharmacist. So I graduated in 2015 with my pharmacy degree, and shortly after I started investing in single-family homes. But I was originally inspired to get into real estate from my grandpa. He owned a couple properties in the Bay Area, and from those properties, for the rent from those properties, he was able to basically achieve financial freedom and retire early. And then he was able to not only do that, but help pay my way through college and that of my brother's way through college. So I realized this is one of the best ways to create generational wealth. So I wanted to get started as soon as possible. Around a year after I graduated, I bought my first single-family home. I basically did like a house hack. I didn't live in the house, but I rented out per room to college students in my local college town. And that pretty much maximized my profits. For example, the house appraised for getting rent of around $20 or $2,000, and I was able to increase the rent to $3,100. So that's just a kind of an example of how, it really does increase your profits by adding bedrooms where I can and then renting it out per bedroom. And basically, I repeated that process over the last 4 years. Now I'm standing at 4 single-family homes with 18 tenants, and then that's a gross rental income of $10,755 per month.
The fact that you're renting out by the bedroom tells me that these are probably student properties?
It is. It's student housing.
Let's get a little more specific about location and where you're doing this. Now, you said your grandfather built his portfolio in the Bay Area. So you're talking about San Francisco, where prices are just through the roof.
Yeah, he did. We actually just sold off the last property in the Bay for $3.4 million, I believe.
Wow, was that a single-family home?
It was actually a commercial. It was 6 flats in San Francisco. For my investments, I used my own money, but that's from my grandpa. Yeah, that's how much they did.
So you saw your grandfather prove the concept. Definitely, like the idea of investing in California is strange to me because I used to live in California. I know prices are super high. And anything I ever looked at when I was living there, it was impossible to find positive cash flow. So take us through the first deal you did and the numbers on that, what you paid for it and your expenses and how you're able to achieve positive cash flow from it.
Great question, Brian. Yeah, so I live in Sacramento, so I kind of live in a pricey market. Most houses here are around $500,000 for a single family home, like a 3-bed, 2-bath. So I figured it's very hard to make cash flow here, but if I were to drive an hour away to Stockton, the houses are 200 to 300,000. So the cash flow, I mean, the rent I could make is about the same if I rent it out per room. So it just makes sense for me to go to Stockton, set up a system in place, and make everything automated so I don't have to go down there. And in fact, the last time I went down to Stockton was like 6 or 7 months ago. And once that's all set up, I could get into tenants and then make the passive income. And the cash flow makes a lot more sense because the prices of the houses are much lower. So you make a lot more, cash flow.
These are houses that would typically rent for, I think you said around $2,000, $2,100 a month, but you're able to get more like over $3,000 a month from them. Explain that.
Yeah, so sometimes I will put 2 tenants in 1 bedroom. That's typically like a couple. Or if I can add extra bedrooms, like I usually buy a 3-bed, 2-bath, and I'll try to add a 4th or 5th bedroom. So sometimes I would put up a wall for that. Other times it's really easy. I just turn the living room or family room into an extra bedroom.
So you're able to do that and not have pushback from tenants who want that shared communal space?
Yeah, definitely. Because the students, they're used to living the dormitory life, and the dormitory actually charge around $1,000 to $1,200 a month, and I'm only charging around $600 a month. So for them, it's half the price, and they get more privacy compared to the dormitories. And not only that, they get a lot more space. They get a house, right, rather than just some rooms and then a communal bathroom, right?
That's interesting. You're able to take like a living room and turn it into a bedroom. Are you doing anything else to the house to make it more acceptable to students?
Yeah, I am. I'm putting in all the amenities. So they get a move-in ready house. They have the bed, the desk, the chair, the nightstand, closets. Even I provide utensils, dishes. Everything's pretty much move-in ready. So that's a huge advantage for them because I know a lot of students, they see it as a hassle to have to try to, buy a new bed and move it in and then move it out at the end of the year. So everything's set up for them. As far as payments, I automate that by requiring them all to pay through an app called Zelle. It's a phone app, basically, and it's direct deposit, so I know exactly when they send the rent.
Zelle, is that Zell?
Zelle, yes.
Zelle, and that's a rent payment app that you have all your tenants use.
It's kind of like a direct deposit app. It doesn't have to be for rent, but yeah, I use it for rental payments. It's kind of like Venmo in a way, but it's direct deposit. So instead of depositing it into a virtual wallet, it deposits directly into your bank immediately, so you know exactly when the rent was sent. Versus like having a check lost in the mail, right? And you're not sure, did they send it or did it get lost in the mail, right? And I don't want to deal with those issues. So that's why I do require them to do Zelle.
Right. And I'd imagine because you're working with students, whether they're Generation Z, they're pretty familiar with using these types of apps and don't have any
definitely.
problem.
Very tech savvy. They prefer it, actually.
Yeah, because who wants to write a paper check anymore?
I know, right?
It's interesting that you're fully furnishing these units. What's your average investment to furnish a house with beds and kitchenware and everything that your residents might need?
Yeah, so I look on Amazon and shop prices, and Amazon and Walmart typically have been my sources for pretty much all my furniture and silverware and whatnot. I would say around 2,000 or so, because I do try to find the cheaper prices, 1,000 to 2,000 or so to furnish the houses. But then that you can write off on your taxes, and you do it one time, and it's good for the life of the house, right?
Is it though? I mean, if you're buying furniture, say at Walmart, is it really going to last that long, or what's the trade-off there in the quality of what you're buying versus the longevity of it?
I look for ones that do have a long life to them. I look through the reviews and make sure that, of course, that they are good quality pieces before I buy them. But there are some really good quality pieces out there for a cheaper price. definitely a trade-off you have to think about when you're buying furniture. Definitely not buying luxury furniture, let's put it that way.
So you're buying 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You want to add more bedrooms, so maybe you turn a living room into a bedroom. You're able to get up to $600 a bedroom?
That is correct. I would say, yeah, 600 to upwards of 700.
Where did you even come up with this system, this model? Is this something your grandfather taught you, or is this something you came up with on your own?
It's actually something my friend did. So my friend's aunt bought a place next to our school, and she rented it out per bedroom to my friend's friends. And so my friend basically lived there for free. It's, basic house hacking. And so from that, I was inspired to do the same thing because I saw, how much rent he was making versus how much his mortgage payment was, which was really low at the time. Stockton prices actually were in the 200, like low 200,000s when, I graduated. So, or even back then, like when I was in college, it was in the hundreds to 200,000s. So it was a lot. It's very affordable, and you can make a lot of rent from it. So that's what inspired me to do it.
And when did you pick up the 4 properties that you own?
I bought one per year.
I take it all 4 of your single-family homes are in Stockton?
Yeah, I buy like 5-minute walk from the campus.
What university or college is this?
University of the Pacific. It's actually got a pharmacy school and a dental school as well. So I normally get professional students in my rentals. So they don't cause, a lot of trouble. They don't trash the house, all of that.
Yeah, professional students are more serious about studying and finishing up than having parties and trashing your place.
Exactly. And most of the time they're actually at school, not at the house. So it cuts down on the wear and tear, believe it or not. Most of the time they just use the house to sleep, or shower and sleep, or study.
What years were you buying?
Yeah, so I bought the first one in 2016 for $262,000. And then after that, there was a lot of appreciation in Stockton. I bought the next one. Well, I basically bought it one each year before the school year started. So before August. So I bought in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. And the houses were in the 300,000 range or so.
And how were you buying these? Were you coming in with the down payment and just getting traditional residential home loans?
Yeah, actually, for the last house, I used something called a HELOC, home equity line of credit. And so I took some money from my first house. They charge around a 6.5% interest rate, but I was able to use that as a down payment on the 4th house. So I was, that really helped me in decreasing my interest rate on the 4th house because I was able to put more down, but also just making it possible to buy that house a lot faster. And that's the house I turned into 5-bedroom and make $3,100 on.
Nice. So what kind of expense ratio and expenses do you have on these properties?
Yeah, so I actually do 15-year mortgages. They will all be paid off in 15 years. So I'm guaranteed by, I'm 27 now. I'm guaranteed by, if you can do the math, 40 something to have paid them all off, right? And the cash flow on top of that after expenses is around $1,500 per month.
And that's after paying your mortgage?
Exactly. Mortgage, expenses, all that. So I do get a little bit on top of that, but the main thing is it gets paid off really quickly within 15 years. In fact, the first one I have is on a 10-year mortgage, and there's only $25,000 left on the loan.
Oh, so you'll have that paid off pretty quickly then.
Yeah, it will be pretty quick, yeah. So I kind of I put in my W-2 income into some of my houses because I don't want to over leverage, because my eventual goal is to get financial freedom, right? Where I have $10,755 per month coming in rental income without me having to, work actively for it. So I'm kind of in this stage where I'm thinking of maybe investing in other houses, or maybe just paying off the 4 houses as quick as I can. I would be able to technically pay them off in 4 or 5 years and then just retire when I'm 31 or 32.
You said your cash flow is $1,500 a month. Is that combined from the 4 houses, or is that each house?
That's combined from the 4 houses.
Okay, so 1,500. That's still pretty good on 4 properties in California to have 1,500.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if someone were to do this elsewhere, the student rental market elsewhere in other states, they would be making a whole lot more because California prices are just way up there. I know other states, the houses are in the hundred thousands, and they can still make, I would say, anywhere from $500 to $600 in rent still.
Yeah, I've certainly talked to people who are doing that. Why is it you're sticking in? I mean, obviously Stockton is what'd you say, about 2 or 3 hours away from where you live in Sacramento?
It's about an hour and 10 minutes away.
And you've automated most of it. You're already a long distance landlord. Why wouldn't you go to another state where you can buy student housing at a lower price point?
That's a good question. Right now, I didn't hire a property manager, and I think that's mainly, I guess it's a fear that maybe I hire a property manager that doesn't do as good a job as me. But I know as investors, we need to get to that point where we start outsourcing everything and, trusting other people. For the most part, I still do the marketing piece because it only takes like a month or so for me to fill all the rooms. To make sure half of the tenants stay, but the other half I fill. So that takes about a month. And then, just coordinating everything, you might take another month or so, and then everything's automated after that. But I kind of like doing that part because I'm directly in control of how much I can make in the house, right? If I can market a room as a shared bedroom and each tenant pays, $470, then I'm getting $940 instead of $670 or something for that room. So, where I kind of see opportunities there, I like to, hop on those, especially when I'm young. I like to build my cash flow and my equity as fast as I can.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. Because this is student housing, are you on that typical student housing schedule where everyone's moving out in June or July and you have to have it refilled by August?
Yes, that is correct. I do 1-year leases for all of my tenants. And I do, I kind of have this system where I target students, then I screen them to make sure there would be, responsible tenants. And then I also have a system, of course, if tenant complaints arise. So the targeting part, I target pharmacy, dental students, people who are in graduate school. So these are usually the 3rd or 4th year students. Sometimes I accept 2nd years, but I never will accept 1st years. That just has to do with the maturity level and the responsibility level. The second thing I do is, of course, screen them. So I look through their social media profiles. I figure out what their major is, or I ask them. Then I also get last 2-month bank statements and FICO score from their parents, because it's actually the parents paying the rent. That's what makes the system so powerful. You'll never have to deal with unpaid rent. So you're never going to have to evict a tenant, right? And no parent is going to want their child to be evicted from their house at the college they're staying at, right? I do kind of interact with them a little bit to determine how fast, if the faster they respond to me, or the faster they get like the rental application back to me, the more responsible of a person they are, generally speaking. Because let's say I do have someone paying late rent and I let them know, the person who got that rental app back to me right away, they're the ones who will also get the rent to me right away, right? Versus I'm having to chase them down. I've never actually had to chase anyone down, but I do look for people who are a little more responsive. They seem to be a mature, responsible person based off of my interactions with them.
Tell me how you are able to be so hyper specific in your marketing to second, third, fourth year pharmacy students?
Great question. Yeah, so there's student housing, there's student Facebook groups. So there's like the textbook exchange group. There's like class of 2020, class of 2021. There's college off-campus housing groups. So I go onto those Facebook groups, and then that's where I put my ads up, and then I kind of do the screening and ask them what their major is, and what year student they are and whatnot.
You're doing it through Facebook, basically.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. That Facebook pages work really well. Nowadays, I just get most of mine through referrals because I have 18 tenants. Each of them have 5 friends, right? So they bring in their friend, and that fills that room, right? Another thing you could do, when I started off, I put flyers up on campus because campus have these bulletin boards that you can, advertise your rooms for rent, and that works as well.
Why are you getting referrals? Is it just because there's a need for this type of housing, or because you're doing something special that people like?
There's a huge need, honestly. If a student would like to save rent by paying $600 a month rather than $1,200 a month, they live just as close to campus as on-campus housing because my places are the same distance from their classes, then it makes sense for a lot of people. And these colleges have, some of them have tens of thousands of students. I need 18 rooms filled. That's like 0.1% of that, right? So there's a huge demand for student housing, off-campus student housing, and that's why my rooms get filled within a month.
It sounds like you're very hands-on as far as doing the marketing and screening. How much do you actually have to go to the properties during this period when you're leasing them out? Do you need to show the houses and the rooms, or can you just handle that remotely as well?
That's all remote as well. So the great part is once you have tenants in the houses, you just have the previous tenants do all the showings. And I actually advertise early. I advertise in April. So, I try to choose a time that's not near their exam season. So basically, I just get the prospective tenants connected with the current tenants, and then they just work it out through text message when they visit the house. Or I might announce like an open house viewing. Sometimes I do that as well, where they all come on one day, and so they can all see the house. It also kind of creates kind of a competition as well because they see others are interested in the house. They're like, oh, I better get my rental application in as quickly as possible. So that's kind of like some things I do to increase the demand as well.
Which works better?
It depends on how many rooms I have to fill. If I have to fill like 3 rooms, I usually go for like the open house method. Otherwise, just a referral is a lot simpler for me.
How often do you actually have to go to these properties and repair things, do maintenance? Are you managing 100% by yourself, or do you have any feet on the ground that can go over there and take care of problems?
I have feet on the ground, yeah. So I have a contractor team. I have 3 contractors. 2 of them, one of them is really good at creative projects like putting up walls, trying to create an extra bedroom, all that. And then the other 2 are good at for run-of-the-mill things like putting up a door, installing a sump pump or replacing a toilet or something like that. I usually go to those people for that. So yeah, I do have a contractor team. Usually if a tenant will say, hey, the toilet's not working, I'll just forward that text message to the contractor and say, hey, can you take care of this? And the contractor has access to the electronic code, the electronic door code. So he just lets himself in, does his work. He goes home. I have someone kind of take a look at it if it's been fixed, and then he sends me the bill, and I send him a check. So that's pretty much how things work. It's all automated now.
Nice. And it sounds like you have the keyless entries then, where you just punch in a code and vendors can get in the door no problem?
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
What else do you do to keep things automated?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in preventative maintenance. So where I can, I'll try to take out the grass and put in bark. I'll try to get rid of trees where I can because I found that squirrels and rats can actually climb the branches, and if it overhangs your house, then they can get into your house through climbing the branches and getting on your roof. the other thing about trees is the roots actually can dig into your sewage pipes. So where I can, if it's not a protected tree, I'll try to remove it. The other thing, of course, you could do is trim the branches, obviously. A couple other things I have something called the green gobbler. You just pour it down the sinks. I just have the tenants do this. You pour it down the sink from time to time, and then that eliminates a lot of the plumbing issues. So a lot of the fat and grease in here, right? And I have something I pour down the toilets as well to eliminate any roots that might be sticking into the pipes. But it's best actually to do all this even before that. During the escrow phase, it's a perfect time to do a sewage line inspection. And I highly recommend this for everyone. If you do a sewage line inspection where you stick a camera down the sewage line, it costs about a couple, maybe 200, 300 at most. And then it'll find all the breaks in the sewage pipes, or if maybe the whole pipe is actually like there's like a ton of roots in it, it'll find all that. So just doing that simple inspection will save you thousands later on, because I had a sewage pipe actually break on me on my first house, and that was $6,000. So just to replace the line. Yeah, so it was pretty bad.
What are some other big expenses that you've incurred?
Electrical rewiring, that actually costs a lot. Electricals and plumbing are the main two that seem to cost quite a bit. The last house, actually putting in a wall, and I actually rearranged the whole house. I cut a hole, and it's kind of hard to explain, through a closet to create a hallway. So the remodeling part did cost a little bit, a couple $1,000.
Probably to maximize your space and get another bedroom in there.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to create that extra bedroom because then the cash flow would work really well.
I want to go back and talk about your aggressive pay down of debt and just your philosophy of paying these off as quickly as possible and making them part of your retirement. This is kind of a devil's advocate question, but why in the time of cheap money, when you can borrow at 3, 4, 5%, are you so aggressive on paying it down and paying down the 4 properties that you own, as opposed to taking out more debt and less aggressive pay down, but acquiring more?
That's a great question. To be honest, it really depends on the person, because the more you leverage your money, the more return on investment you'll be getting. Obviously, the more houses you buy, the higher your return will be, your ROI will be. By aggressively paying them down, I'm losing ROI, but I'm achieving my goal of financial freedom a lot quicker. Like I said, I can retire in my 31 or 32 and have $10,755 per month guaranteed in rental income, because I'm by a college. As long as the college is there, I'm getting fresh new students every year. I'm getting, there's thousands of students at the college. So that's kind of my philosophy. I really want to achieve that financial freedom where I can have more freedom of time, do what I would like with life and live a more fulfilling life as well. It's not all about wealth creation, but it's also about, the important things like family, health, and all that. So I think that's my goal. I mean, it'll be different for everyone. I am also considering buying up to 7 houses. So basically double where I am now. So that's another thing I'm considering. It depends on if I see any good deals or not, though. If there's a great deal, I'll snag it up. So I would say this is my temporary goal, like, retire 30, 31 or so. But if I do see opportunity, of course, I'm going to jump on that opportunity.
Yeah, it does seem like you'd achieve efficiency of scale if you added more of these types of properties in Stockton.
Yeah. I mean, I could. Everything's automated now, so there's nothing holding me back from going to 7 or 10 properties.
When you're weighing the costs, sometimes it's okay to pay more for an asset if you have that efficiency of scale.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the other thing about the 15-year mortgages, the interest rate is around, I'd say 0.5, 0.75% lower interest rate.
Are you actively looking for more properties like this?
I do. I always look for properties. It's kind of a habit, yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm not sure if I have enough money to do that, but I can always take it out of the HELOC, right? So
you're very conservative, and that's refreshing, because you're not just all about growing your portfolio as fast as possible, but nurturing it to make sure it's going to be there for you in the long run. And I think that's commendable. Talk about your mindset. You obviously got the bug from your grandfather, and people listening to this might be like, yeah, well, that's why you're successful at it, is because your grandfather taught you to be successful at it. But is this something anybody could do?
Yeah, I actually highly recommend investing in your own education. Mindset work is part of that. There's a lot of good books out there. One of my favorite is Miracle Morning. That teaches you how to take charge of your morning, so you kind of set the intention to get your goals done that you set out to do during the day. There's other ones. There's something called Tapping into Wealth. That book is really good. But basically, these mindset books, they teach you how to do a lot of visualization, where you visualize really where you want to be in life in a couple years, like 5 years, 10 years down the line. And this kind of determines your big why. So you need to have a big why to keep you going when times are tough. Like when I had that sewage line breakdown and I had to pay, $6,000 to repair it. And not only that, I paid a couple thousand to clean it up and put in a sump pump. It gets you through all that. You realize, this is a long game, a long game. You're playing the long game. So you have to realize that these things are they are worth it to, fix and keep up. And that's key. I think visualization, there's something called affirmations. Those, do really well. So it kind of leads you to where you want to be in life. And really paint a clear picture of what your ideal future is, your better version of yourself.
And what are your goals, both your short-term and your long-term goals?
Yeah, I would like to travel more. When I'm older, I want to, have some passive income coming in to help pay for my children's schooling, to help maybe my parents out, or in case something happens, something that I can't anticipate, at least I have that backup passive income that I can, basically cover whatever bills that come up. And then also just having financial freedom to, do more with life. I'm actually starting a mentorship program where I'm teaching others how to invest in the student rental market, because I really believe this is one of the best markets in real estate today. And there's a lot of opportunity. So, doing that, helping others achieve financial freedom really helps me to, feel like I'm a little more fulfilled in life and everything. Don't get me wrong, pharmacy is great, but the flexibility and all that, the lack of flexibility is kind of what pushed me toward this FIRE movement, right? Financial independent movement.
Yeah, that's the second time I've heard that term in the past week. FIRE movement is what? Financial independent?
Retire early.
How soon would you like to be retired?
Like I said, probably around 31.
I'd say you're well on your way. Ryan, if any of our listeners would like to get a hold of you to find out more about you and what you're doing, how would they go about getting a hold of you?
You can reach me at www.newbierealestateinvesting.com. That's www.newbierealestateinvesting.com. And newbie is spelled NEWBIE. www.newbierealestateinvesting.com.
Ryan, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you sharing your successful formula where you buy houses, turn them into student housing in a very particular area of Stockton, California. Rent them out by the room. They're fully furnished with all the equipment that the students need. What you're doing with your hyper-specific targeted marketing toward pharmacy students, that's really brilliant. And I wish you good luck in hopefully finding more of these types of properties, getting up to those 7 houses that you were talking about. And I want to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on the podcast, Brian. Appreciate that.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. And you can also ask questions and join us on Facebook by going to RPOA, Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.